other than to say northern Beijing somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where I am. I'm off on one of my little wanders, and I got off the subway to go to see the Summer Palace to find out that on New Year's Eve the Summer Palace is closed. So I'm now wandering through some remote northern suburb which, guessing by the housing standards, is not one of the more salubrious parts of Beijing. And I found myself in a park, wandering, not exactly sure where to. Juxtapositions are marvellous things. Right next door to this ugly bit that I've just been walking through is an old palace. And I've got to think that during the Emperor's days, this was much the same, and the ugly bit was much the same, and the people who lived outside didn't like the people who lived inside very much. Before its destruction, Yuanming Park was a palace of the Emperor. And on the board behind me is a map of what it was like before it was destroyed in the Second Opium Wars. So most of this parkland I've been walking around is actually destroyed old foundations of this place here. We're standing here, right near that two-story building on the map there, which is just here. I'm just walking along in the subway. It smells all new and fresh. It's because it is. This is line 6 in the Beijing subway. Line 6 was opened yesterday. I reckon it's pretty cool to be on a brand new subway. Never done that before. The other thing you need to learn is they're really building a good one. It's multilingual or bilingual, everything's in Chinese and English, plenty of maps and electronic guidance inside the carriages telling you where you are, including little TVs with little snippets and comedy programs to keep people entertained. They are certainly investing a lot more per head, and a lot more per head multiplied by average weekly wages than we would ever dream of investing in Australia. Hey, morning, it's Sunday morning just before New Year's in Tiananmen Square, with the Forbidden City on one side and the Great Hall of the People on the other. Being China, being Beijing, being Tiananmen Square, of course you're hawked and hassled by all sorts of con artists. This is one of the few countries in the world I actually fell for one of these cons a couple of years ago, the Beijing tea shop trick. So now when a tout comes up and says, "Hello, I'm an English student, can I help you?" I just turn to them and say, you are a great shame on China. And then they get all upset, but hell, they are a great shame on China. I'm at the Temple of Heaven. This central building here is where the emperors used to actually pray for the good harvest. When you look at the beauty of some of this half-millennium old architecture and remind yourself that the vast majority of Chinese, 99.99% of them, for more than half a millennia were not allowed to go in, it's no wonder they had a revolution. So I'm now walking on more than half a millennium old stone walkway, which was for the exclusive use of the emperor only. Now, you'll see this part of the bridge, and this is actually an arched bridgeway 4 meters off the ground, and therefore said to be the oldest elevated bridge structure in Beijing. But this end is slightly lower than that end. And the reason this end, the southern end, is slightly lower is because as you walk from the circular altar to the altar of grain, you get the feeling of walking uphill to heaven. And the whole shape of this garden has a square shape on the bottom and a semicircular shape on the top, because semicircular is the symbol of heaven and square is the symbol of earth. It's night time. I'm walking through the streets of Beijing, a little over 20 meters that way is the outer wall of the Forbidden City. there. And if you look around behind me, a city of 20 million people in a country of 1.2, 1.3 billion. And it's midnight, Sunday, the day before New Year's Eve. There's almost no one around. And other than the passing taxi, like that one, and street lights fired by electricity rather than gas or some other form, you wander the streets of Beijing and think, surprisingly, for what is the world's second largest economy and soon to be its largest, it can't feel that different from Ming Dynasty time.